I'm Todd McAlister, CEO of SPEER, the South Central Partnership for Energy Efficiency as a Resource. And today I'm with Jasmine King-Bush, our 2025 SPEER Board President. Jasmine is with Clear Result as a Program Director, and this is our initial, first ever SPEER Board Buzz. So Jasmine, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by today, and let's have a little chat about SPEER.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about Jasmine.
Oh, let's see. I'm a native of California. I relocated to the Austin area about 6 years ago, just looking at a little simpler life for my son and I, and found a home working for a natural gas provider. That was kind of my professional introduction to energy efficiency. But I would say growing up, you know, our parents tell us cut the lights off when you leave the room and don't brush your teeth with the water running and things like that. And so I guess I've kind of always had energy efficiency floating around me. I love tropical vacations.
There you go.
You can catch me on a beach. I love the sun and the warmth in the ocean. I'm a mom of 3 boys. They're all grown, but they will always be my babies. And I have a little tiny Shih Tzu named Gigi who, if I could give anybody advice, don't ever get a female Shih Tzu. They have way too much attitude.
I'm not going to make any comments to that. I'll keep my comments to myself on that one. Well, it's been great having you on the board of directors with SPEER, and we really do appreciate your leadership and everything that you bring to the board. What drew you to SPEER and to have a board position with us?
Well, early on in my role in energy efficiency at the utility, I started looking for opportunities to grow my knowledge base. And I was partnering actually with Clear Result for one of the programs. And I was working for a young lady who also was on the board. And so I had heard a little bit about SPEER and the work that was being done, but it was very high level. And then when that young lady left the company, the gentleman that I was working with at Clear Result said, hey, there's an opportunity for you to join the board. I jumped at the opportunity. I had to get a little more information. Wanted to make sure I knew what I was getting myself into. But once I did some research on the organization and what they're involved in and the information that they were sharing with the industry itself, but also interested parties, other businesses, and I was like, okay, this is a good place for me. I can share what I'm doing, but I can glean from everybody else that's already on the board and from the organization as a whole.
Great. How do you feel like the board interacts with SPEER, the organization? Like, tell me a little bit about what your vision is as president. You're going to have a vision, obviously. We've got a board that has been around for a while, but how do you see the interaction between the board and the organization itself?
I would say I like the way that the board has this let the subject matter expert lead. And so I really appreciate that the board takes a high level view of what's going on in the industry, what's going on with policy at the state, federal level, even the city level, and says, okay, this is what we're seeing at a high level. What are you guys seeing ground level? And then take the lead from the actual organizational leads and the individual contributors working for SPEER, and we put together a plan. I think as a president, I'm passionate about SPEER being in front of more people. I think that's probably my number one thing. I have asked people on my team to enroll in SPEER courses. I have shared more information about SPEER in Oklahoma and the utility, the peer utilities that I partner with there. I want what SPEER is doing as far as educating and advocating to be in front of more people. I think that's my first passion. I think that the board supports that, and I think what's currently happening in the organization is also supportive of that. The other thing I would like to see is more corporate support. There's value in what SPEER is doing. The unbiased approach to saying, hey, energy efficiency is a thing. It is a valuable, needed thing, and it is not going anywhere. So how can we make it successful? I think there's opportunity at the corporate space to identify niches that they can support to further that messaging. So I like the partnership. I think it's great. As a president, I'm still getting my sea legs under me. But I do think that we have a plan in place to further the gospel of SPEER, and I'm looking forward to seeing that unfold.
We brought up energy efficiency, and obviously SPEER and energy efficiency is in our name, and it's
Yes.
kind of our stalwart for what we do. And then you brought up policy, and right now, the times right now are all over the place, right?
Yeah.
People aren't sure what's going to happen federally with grant money. People aren't sure what's going to happen at the state level with grant money, and who's going to be affected, who's not going to be affected, what programs are going to go forward. How do you envision, or what are you hearing in your space around how the broader EE market may potentially be affected when it comes to everything that's going on politically right now?
Yeah, we are in a time of huge transition, but I think with transition comes opportunity. The goal of SPEER doesn't change regardless of the environment around it.
I would agree.
We still want to have a better tomorrow. We still realize that we need to conserve the resources that we have available to us. And so that mission never changes. How we go about it may change given the environment. And as you said, the federal changes, I think that there's a greater value being placed on accessing energy, but not necessarily the same level of importance being placed on how we utilize the energy. And so I think it's created a greater space for us to shine. I think, again, going back to the corporate support, if we can get the corporate support, then some of the the disbursement of grant funds won't be as impactful. One of the things I would love to say and kind of plug SPEER is that we are, if anybody's familiar with Aesop's fables, slow and steady wins the race. And that has proven to be, and is going to prove to be, a trusted approach. We are not going to be out and fast, hot and heavy. It's slow and steady wins the race. And so I don't think that as a organization, SPEER is going to be impacted as much. I do think there's a greater responsibility for the users of energy, residential, commercial, industrial. There's a greater responsibility for them to know how they're using the energy and educate themselves, identify resources and tools to do it in the safest, most conserving method possible.
Yeah. So when you're talking about moving the mark for efficiency and how you go forward, and I appreciate the Aesop's fable. Actually, when I was in high school, just for a little deal, I was actually in that play. I was the tortoise, so I guess I'm always slow and steady.
I feel like I'm not shocked by that.
How that goes. But how do you envision SPEER like in the next 3, 4, 5 years? Like what do you see us, when you're talking slow and steady, things that I know you discussed the corporate and how we get this and how we move to that. What do you kind of envision laying the groundwork and the foundation for moving forward in those 3 to 5 years?
I think one of the things I think we're going to see is SPEER being established as a trusted voice. Noah has done a fantastic job at the Capitol of tracking.
Noah Oakes, our senior manager for policy engagement.
Absolutely. He has done a fantastic job of being present and then communicating what's happening. Organizations like SPEER bring into the average person's purview what's happening that's impactful. And so I think SPEER positioning itself as a trusted voice is something that is going to be more prominent in the next few years. Our presence and then communication of the bill tracker, right? Maybe in a more refined sense, maybe summarized in a place that has general access to the public and to decision makers. So I think that that's one of the main things I think we're going to see, and we'll see that push forward. I think the other thing that we'll see from SPEER is wider adoption of recommendations.
What do you mean by that? I mean, wider adoption.
So I think SPEER has some partnerships with organizations where they can make recommendations based upon research, fact-finding, projects that are underway. And I think those recommendations are going to take a larger place in the marketplace. People don't know what they have until they miss it.
Right.
And with the federal changes and state changes and in other areas of business, funding may dry up for what was just assumed to be commonplace. And so SPEER can come into that place and say, we can provide the research, we can provide the tools, we can provide the training. there's going to be a greater focus on what SPEER has available. I think SPEER is doing a great job of their voice becoming louder. And so people will know to come look for them. Word of mouth is spreading. I know I'm a tool. I'm always talking about SPEER.
And we appreciate it.
Any chance I get, I'm like, have you heard of SPEER? Especially in the corporate community. And so I think we'll see that SPEER is going to rise to the top as this trusted go-to resource. So not just a trusted voice, but also a trusted go-to resource. And I just see that those two things are kind of just going to come up to the surface for SPEER. There's going to be more visibility. I mean, just looking at the attendance to the annual conference. We're seeing that grow.
September 18th and 19th,
That's
2025 in Austin, Texas, by the way.
We better see you there. We're seeing that grow. That is a byproduct of the work that the organization is doing internally to be a louder voice and a more trusted resource.
So in Texas, I know we're Oklahoma and Texas based, and there's two totally different markets, very similar but different markets, right?
Same but different.
It is a same but different kind of thing. You know, one of the things they continue to talk about here in Texas is the grid sustainability, grid reliability, and how energy efficiency. So we're a force multiplier. Energy efficiency is not going to take us away from needs that the grid is going to have for having increased more load and those things that are happening. What are you hearing around data centers and AI and these kind of things, and how is all this going to potentially affect the need for more energy efficiency?
Yeah, you just said the hot term, data center. Everywhere I go, I hear it. So a lot of companies are looking to invest, right? So follow the money, right? One of my favorite scriptures is where your heart is, there's your money, right? Follow the money. People are going to invest in what is going to help them make more money. Energy efficiency is going to allow for a distributed demand. The demand is going to increase.
Right.
Data centers are going to pull. I already know of companies that are looking to invest in data centers that are going to pop up all over Texas, especially. And so they're looking to, okay, how do I protect my investment? Because if the grid goes down and you've got an increased demand on the grid, you're not making money. So they're looking at generation. How are we doing generation efficiently? How can we divest the demand on the grid in other areas so it's not pulling on my data center that's making me money? And so I think that they're going to realize, people thought energy efficiency meant that I can't have my lights on or that I can't run my dishwasher. That's not what energy efficiency means. It means we understand you need the resource. We want to help you know how to use it in a better manner, when to use it, how to use it, and then as far as technology is concerned, what to use to access it. And so I think that conversation is going to become paramount. I would not be surprised if SPEER started to get phone calls from investors and those planning projects that are going to put a greater demand on the grid to say, hey, help me build this out before I spend the money. Help me build this out. What does this look like? How can we do this more efficiently? How can we do this better? So again, I think, I used to say, nobody puts baby in a corner, right? I think it's our time. We're about to do a dance with Patrick Swayze.
That one may be over my head. So SPEER is made up primarily, and you had mentioned Noah Oakes, who runs our policy, and we've got a energy code and building performance individual, and then we also have a community efficiency leadership coalition.
Yes.
We've got communications. We've kind of got a pretty broad swath.
It is a strong team.
What we take advantage of there. How do you see our organization maybe making some changes or some adjustments based on what's going on? Are there things that you say, hey, we may want to move further onto this side or further onto that side that you think of as a board member and as a president?
Yes, I think, and I'll pull in a little bit of what I know about ASHRAE and kind of what's going on with the code changes. I think that and the building code piece is going to become much larger. That is driving a lot of conversations with the developers and builders right now, which again is tied to money.
Right.
And so I think that is going to see a bit more of an impact the work that SPEER is doing in that area. When I mentioned earlier that I had one of my team members participate in the SPEER course, it was the building code course. The programs that I have run, participation is directly impacted by what codes are in place. So I think that that's an area that I think we can scale a bit on and create more awareness about those courses and why those courses are important for people that may not be the builder or developer, but may be working for a utility. Why is that important for us to have? Why does a market development staff member need to participate in that course? And so I think we can scale awareness and tie in why the courses we have available are important to, you know, another utility or an implementer. I think that our small but mighty team may have to grow a little bit when the phone starts ringing.
We are small but mighty, that is
We
for
are
sure.
small but mighty, but I think that we may have to grow a little bit when the phone starts ringing, because in my experience, people don't realize they need help until it's too late, and then they need help immediately. And so we may have to scale a little bit to allow for that. And I also think that we may, I know that you have a great relationship with the other REOs, but I think that there may be, because of changes at the federal level, there may be a tighter network drawn and put together to have a more unified approach towards how are we going to pivot.
I would agree with that.
In this environment.
So Jasmine, we may potentially have a board opening. And you had mentioned that you talk to a lot of corporate folk and are really out in the community and talking to people about SPEER. If you were to approach somebody about this board position that would be open, what would you tell them?
You mean, what have I told them? Because I'm recruiting.
That as well.
What
Continue
have I told
the
them?
recruitment.
First, I ask them, what are you doing outside of your organization? Because you need to be involved outside of your organization. If you are siloed within your organization, you're not getting the full picture of what's going on and how impactful and effective can you be inside your organization. And so I'm like, what are you involved in outside? And, you know, oftentimes people tell me nothing, right? A lot of us consider our jobs, we come in, we do our jobs, we go home. But there are those who are passionate about what they do.
Absolutely.
And those are the ones I try to identify. And if they say, well, you know, I might volunteer at Habitat for Humanity, or I might do something like this. Okay, how would you feel about being a part of an organization that is working on a larger scale? Still volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, but an ongoing large-scale influence. How do you feel about being a part of something like that and being able to see the impact, right?
Right.
And that usually hooks their interest. And I will say, as a board member, there is a commitment required and there's some dedication required, but it is nothing that pulls me away from my 9 to 5 and nothing that impacts me so much that I still don't have home life. I'm still shutting off lights when I leave the room and everything, but it is a thoughtful dedication of time, but not intrusive.
Right. Well, I'd be happy to, you know, I can add more onto y'all's plate if you'd like to
Give
have more
me
on the
more
plate.
work. I love it.
All right. In one word, what is SPEER?
Revolutionary.
Oh, I like that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. It's because we have a great board and we have great leaders. I have a couple of more questions.
Oh, I
Jasmine.
thought we were done.
We are kind of done, but I always ask wacky questions.
Okay, I got it.
You can ask our COO, Liz, about
Yes.
my wacky questions.
Okay.
You're on a desert island
Okay.
because you like the beach.
I love the beach.
But now you're on a desert island. It's just you, and we'll say deserted island because it's
Okay.
tropical and all that.
Is Wilson there with me? This is another movie reference.
I'm not sure. I do know
Okay.
that one. I'm not
Okay.
sure if Wilson is there or
Okay.
not. I will. Here's what you get.
Okay.
You get one TV show, all the episodes, and you get one movie. And that's all you're going to be able to watch for the next 50 years on that island.
So movie, Trolls.
Like the spin and the hair goes up trolls?
Yes, because there is suspense, there is singing.
Okay.
There's a lot of bright colors, there's a little sadness, and it ends on a high note.
Okay.
So yes,
fair assessment.
Yes. So Trolls, hand down. I will watch that over and over. I watch it over and over now, and I'm not on a deserted island. A series that I would watch over and over, it would have to be something along the lines of like a medical show. So like ER or Chicago Med or something like that. I haven't seen all of the episodes of those series, but medical shows just draw me in. I love them. I don't care how gory it gets. I don't care. And then if it's got a little life story around it, I'm good.
You're hooked.
I'm hooked.
Well, Jasmine, this has been great. I
Thank
really do
you.
appreciate it. And we appreciate all your leadership on the SPEER Board of Directors. And we look forward to finishing out 2025 strong. It's hard to believe that we've already come almost halfway through the year. But we do have our upcoming workshop, Policy and Industry Workshop, on September the 18th and 19th at the AT&T Conference Center. We'd love to have all of y'all attend. You can find more information out about SPEER at www.eepartnership.org. We've got a great YouTube channel with over 1,300 people that are subscribers. We have a great LinkedIn with a whole bunch of great information on there. As Jasmine said, we do put out a lot of information, and that's what we're here for, is to try to help broaden the world of energy efficiency. So again, Jasmine, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to seeing everybody around the state.